Now, there is a myth, and it's regarding your hand actually, because you cut your fingers, didn't you?
Yeah.
So? Explain the story behind that, and did that help facilitate or allow you to focus more on your record collecting and the DJing?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's an interesting story.
Yeah.
So I was just getting into like hip hop and DJing, and I was learning to like scratch on I just got some turntables, some Technics turntables and a decent mixer, and I was practicing, albeit to the I used to piss my ex-wife off big time of cutting up Pound of Fish to Soul. It's time, and good times. Just repeating. That's all she could hear in the next room and
So
drive her mad.
She's X.
Yeah, exactly. X. Bless her. I got two wonderful children with her. We've got twins, Future Flex, who's my son, who's now a DJ.
Get out of here!
Yeah, isn't that mad? And he's really good. He's just signed some tracks to Declines later.
When love becomes awesome. See what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. See, the future is here. He's got, you know what I mean? He's backed up. You got, conveyor belt of Crafty Kuts, the new Crafty Kuts.
Yeah, the conveyor belt. So basically, I was a wood machinist. And I used to make fireplaces, believe it or not. And obviously, that was my form of income. And one day I said to my ex-wife, I said, I don't feel very well. I don't feel great today. And I was working a lot of hours. I was doing like 70, 80 hours a week then because I had a big mortgage. There was a bit of a recession going on. So I had to make ends meet. So I went in not feeling that great into work. This was when I was living in Bognor Regis. And unfortunately, I had an accident and lost the tops of my fingers. And then I was obviously laid off work for a year. And then I had to wait because I was an unskilled machinist. So it was actually their fault. So I got compensation. I had to wait 2 years. And during that time, I spent a lot of time at home, finding myself and learning how to DJ differently again. Although theoretically I am right-handed, which was really good because I can still scratch.
Still do your thing, yeah.
But I couldn't, be ambidextrous.
It's like the Tony Iommi of fucking DJ mixing. So, you know what I mean? It's like you've got your skill in the cuts. Probably won't be the same as anybody else's because of these, quote-unquote handicaps. You know what I mean?
It was an extreme devastation. I thought I'm
You
quite
thought it was
lucky.
over?
Yeah, I thought it was over. And I had a lot of really good DJs around me that, I wished that I could continue my progression and it's getting better. But obviously I fell behind. And then eventually when I taught myself, I got the money from the compensation. I bought a ton of records at a car boot sale, most amazing records, by the way. And that kind of opened up the door. And then I had all these records in my house, really peed off my ex-wife again. A whole room of just, thousands and thousands of records. And then a record store came along. I put all these bought the record store, put all these records into the record. Hence, Instant Vibes was born. And then I got another shop in Brighton, HVR. Yeah. And then suddenly I met a lot of different people in Brighton and I was writing music and getting in the studio in between the little time that I had and playing football as well. I remember Saturdays would play football and during the week I'd be writing music.
You were well into your football, weren't you?
Yeah, I love football.
Fucking hell.
And I kind of like used the compensation money to set up a record shop, which then opened the door to me meeting like Norman Cook. And he walked into my shop one day and I cut an acetate of a track called Give Me the Funk. And I played it to Norman. I said, oh, Norman, I was quite nervous. Oh, you think you might like this? And it was a sample of The Breaks, Curtis Blow, loads of samples. He goes, man, I absolutely love that. That's really good. And on the other side was my crafty intro. And I was like, what do I do? Do I give him this acetate that just cost me 50 quid that I just made like a couple of weeks ago? Or do I keep it? And I thought, no, give it to Norman. Give it to him.
Go.
And said, look, you have this. And he was like, really? And he played it on the radio.
Because you gave it to him, that's a huge, a huge head nod.
Lucky he didn't play the jingle on the other side. He's like, oh my God, I played the wrong track. Anyway, he played Give Me the Funk, sorry. So, Ministry of Sound got hold of me and said, have you got any more music like this? This was then the beginning of like when Big Beat was huge. And I went back and with the engineer that I was using, Chris Sargent at the time, we wrote like an EP and this is a really cool story in a minute to go alongside this. And we sampled a track from Get Carter, but with Michael Caine. The bass line is doon doon do do doon doon do do doon doon do 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 do. Who is it? Is it? Is it? And we used an old school hip hop vocal. Yeah. They used this record. I think I signed this to this movie, Mean Machine, with Guy Ritchie movie, before we signed to Ministry of Sound. And they used it, and my ex-manager at the time licensed it, and everything was really good. And I went to the premiere, and it was a Guy Ritchie movie, so Madonna was there, Jason Statham was there, Kelly Brook was there, Claudia Schiffer was there, and I met all these people, and I sat there with my ex-wife in Leicester Square to the premiere, and as the opening track come on, it was my track. And if it wasn't for Ministry asking me to write more music, I probably wouldn't have wrote that record. So it's amazing. And then next minute, you know, KRAFTI KUTS was born. I was just like getting offers for China, Australia, tours, and then I signed to Finger Licking Records, and then everything, the whole breakbeat movement was open. I started winning awards, and I was just like, my God, I was just living the dream, absolutely living the dream.
I mean, the word serendipity comes into play quite often in the podcast, but when you take something so severe, like losing your fingers, and throw it back as a positive, and just going with the flow, you nailed
Yeah, I like
it.
to try and take a negative and make it into a positive, and I believe that, people, if you've got anything bad that's happened in your life, or anything sad, and things that are making you feel down, and you've got negative thoughts in your mind, just focus. Even something simple like this. Even if you like thinking, I really need a holiday, actually plan your holiday in your head and think, oh my God, wouldn't it be nice if we could go to Florida or California or Spain and just have a break, and then start picturing yourself on a beach or drinking a nice beer in the hot weather or camping with the kids or whatever it might be, and turn your negative thoughts into something positive, and it just brings a little bit of a lift in your life, and it just gives you something to focus on and like, or even like jotting things down in your diary, or just like focusing on some good memories or things that you remember, and you think, you know what, I want to do that again. I want to picture myself being, and that's what I'm always doing, always thinking about, you know, what I could create, just like what you do with the podcast. You've had so many great people on here, and I know, you know, after you finish this, you'll be thinking, oh, I wonder who I could get next, or oh, I wonder who's available, etc., etc. And you've always got to be thinking positively and thoughtfully, and these thoughts can lead on to really lifting your energy and your vibe. And I'm always thinking like that. I'm thinking about 2 or 3 things. Sometimes can make my head a bit cloudy and a bit foggy, but like, you know, I'm writing.
That's what you got managers for. Big up Abel again.
Yeah, big up. And like, that's why I'm always doing like at the moment, I've got 2 projects, which we'll talk about in a bit, that I'm focusing on, along with some other ideas as well. And it keeps me buzzing. It keeps me alive. It keeps me happy. You know, it tires me out for sure, but it's exciting. I enjoy it.